Shafransky. She is the author of Tips for Living. It is a novel of suspense, and I can tell you just from the little bit that I've gotten to read of it and from what I know about Renee, it will be a nail biter for sure. Okay, well, first of all, Renee, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. Hi, everybody.
It is a real honor and privilege. As I was telling Renee earlier, we do not have enough fiction authors on, so to have a fiction author on, I am thrilled, and we get to kind of dig in. Before we do that, I have some questions for you, but also we are taking questions for you from the audience. So if you guys have questions for Renee as we are going along this conversation, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we will have them sent to my phone, and then we will get you an answer probably in about 5 or 10 minutes from Renee. So go ahead, put those comments there, and then also note in the comment section there's a link to the book purchase page. So go ahead and purchase the book if you find this conversation stimulating, and I can promise you that you will. No pressure,
Great.
Renee. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, can you just tell me a little bit? Maybe let's start with like who you are, because I find that to be very fascinating as well. So how did you go from writing or from being a psychotherapist to a writer? And have those always been, like, have you done both always? And then let's also kind of dig into, like, what the book is about. Yeah.
Okay. I've been a writer my whole life. I started out as a kid. There was a speech contest on Long Island where you had to write a speech and give it. And I think I was in 7th grade, and I wrote it, and I won the contest, and I was hooked on writing from there on in. And then I wrote for newspapers, I wrote essays, I wrote film criticism for the Village Voice, a newspaper in New York City for a long time. And then I became a screenwriter and lived in Los Angeles and wrote screenplays. And then I wasn't as interested in the kinds of movies that were being made in Hollywood at the time, and about 20 years ago, I flipped careers, and I went back to graduate school and studied psychology and became a psychotherapist.
Wow.
And it's a perfect match with writing fiction.
Yeah.
Because you know a lot about human behavior and motivation.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Okay, so on that note then, let's talk about Tips for Living.
Yes.
And what your inspiration was for the novel.
So Tips for Living, let me tell you what the story is about first, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how I started to write it. So Nora Glasser is the heroine, and she had a very difficult divorce. She lived in the city. She had a very public and humiliating divorce, and she left to live in a small town, a resort town on the eastern end of Long Island, where her best friend and family lived.
Okay.
And she reclaimed her life, and she started writing for a newspaper out there, a column called Tips for Living, which is a column about the tensions between the local people and the weekenders who come to the town. And she'd been doing this for a couple of years when, lo and behold, her ex-husband and his new family get a summer house in this same town. And all the messy feelings and raw emotions that she had come pouring back into her life, and she's quite distressed. And then, shortly thereafter they move there, both of them are found murdered, her ex and his wife, in their home. And Nora becomes the prime suspect.
Ooh.
Because she had both motive and opportunity.
Ooh, yikes.
And so the book follows her struggle to prove her innocence and find the killer, but there's a little spoiler that I won't give away. But one of her problems is she has a certain kind of, let me call it for now, disability that makes her not sure where she was the night of the murders. I'm not going to say more than that.
Oh, no.
So she is trying to figure out whether to trust herself.
Yeah.
At the same time as she's trying to find the person who killed them.
Oh, my God.
So those are the levels of what's going on.
That is quite the drama.
Yes.
Very much so. I love that you have a heroine in here. What is there a book out there that like inspired you to do this?
People keep going for Gone Girl or Girl on a Train, rather Girl on a Train. It's different.
Yeah.
It's not as dark.
Okay, that's good.
That.
They were so dark.
That was
both
very dark. This
Yeah.
has some dark humor, but the writer who inspired me, although her plots are different, is a mystery writer I love named Louise Penny.
Okay.
And she writes books about a fictional town in the countryside outside of Montreal in Canada with this world of people, and you get to know all the characters, and there are murders in each of her books that Inspector Gamache, her hero, has to solve. I have Nora.
Okay.
And in fact, I'm working on the next in a series now with the same character. But there were a number of inspirations for the book.
Yeah.
One of them was I had my own dumpster fire of a divorce about 25 years ago.
That'll do it.
So I was aware of the kinds of feelings that a person has when they go through that and trying to get over it.
Oh.
Also, as a psychotherapist, I see a lot of people who are going through this kind of distress.
Yeah.
So I know a lot about the patterns that happen, how initially there's a lot of anger and blame, and then there's a kind of hiding out and depression, and then you think you've gotten over it, but something happens, you see the ex somewhere, and it starts all over again. So I wanted to use some of that real emotion that I was very familiar with.
Yeah.
The other thing is, when my mom died, I went down to clear out her house and her belongings, and when I got to her car, I discovered inside the car a big bag of mysteries that were supposed to get returned to the library, but she didn't have time to.
Okay.
And I never knew she was such a big fan. This must have happened later in life, and we hadn't spoken of it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I want to write a book that she would like to read.
Aww.
And then I set it in this small town with all this class tension.
Yeah.
Because it mirrors the kind of divisiveness that we're seeing all over the country now.
Yeah.
And I've lived in small towns and I've experienced that. Mm-hmm. And I wanted a way to speak to that, as well as it's a great setting because there's so many people who can be suspects if everybody's always kind of tense and tribal and angry at the other side.
Totally.
So when you have a wealthy ex-husband buy a big house in this summer town, there are people who are angry about that.
Wow. Why?
Because they're locals and, you know, in a seasonal economy, in a resort town, the people who live there can barely afford certain things, but they're always watching the affluent people come and go and maybe act disrespectfully in certain ways. Prices go up because the stores need to make all their money in the summer.
Yeah.
there was this, I spent summers at my boyfriend's family's Michigan summer place, and they live near a small
Sounds
town.
nice. You got any
It's very
room,
nice.
room over there?
It's near the lake. But there's this small town there, and the laundromat closed, and it became a microbrewery.
Oh.
So what do the people who live there, who don't have washing machines or dryers, do? You know, do they go and drink beer and get drunk and wear dirty clothes?
Yeah, maybe.
It's like, but that kind of thing.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
Is what I wanted to use as a setting.
That's really neat. We have a ton of questions coming in.
Okay, good.
Travis says, what specific part of Long Island inspired your setting?
Okay, so it's a mix of a few towns out there. Greenport, Long Island, which is on the North Fork. Sag Harbor, where I live, which is on the South Fork. And this town I'm speaking about in Michigan, Three Oaks, Michigan, which is not far from Lake Michigan. And then I also lived in California near the coast, so my time there affected it. So it's an alchemical mix of all these small towns.
Cool. Nancy says, oh, this sounds like such a great read. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope so.
Pooja says, that went from dealing with a messy life to murder mystery. Bam, what a twist.
Yeah.
The only way to go, right?
Yeah, and Nora is a messy, lovable, I hope, character. An early reader said about the book that it was a mystery with soul.
Oh, cool.
Which, oops, did I touch my mic?
It's okay.
Which, if I've done that, I'll be really, really happy.
Wow. How did you go about constructing Nora as your character?
She was a mix of people I know, clients whose experiences I've witnessed, not them themselves, but their experiences. There's a little bit of me in there. And of course there's imagination, as always.
Wow. Did you know, like, was Nora like did you sit down and say like, oh, I need to construct her, or like did you just know, like you're like, this is the first paragraph of the first chapter of the book came to me on a walk, verbatim, just came to me. No.
And it's in the first person, so it's Nora's voice.
Yeah.
So once I had that, I could kind of feel her.
Cool. That's amazing. I love that authors can do that. Very few people can do that, but authors can do that. So special. Okay, let's see. Brooke says, did your background in writing screenplays help you transition into writing books?
That is such an interesting question. Thank you for asking that question. The answer is yes and no. The yes part is, when you write screenplays, at least the kind I did, you're looking for the spine of the story always to move forward, right? So there's a real forward momentum, a reason to keep reading.
Yeah.
And I had that going for me because I think I know how to do that. You'll tell me. The harder part is when you write screenplays, you're used to thinking of an actor expressing the emotion of the character for you. So you're writing much more sketchily in terms of character. You're not doing their internal thoughts and responses to things because you're thinking, oh, I don't know, pick somebody you love as an actor.
Louis Marie Jarvis. Is that how you say her name?
Marie Dreyfus?
Dreyfus, yeah. Thank you. I'm like, how am I getting this wrong? Yeah.
Veep.
Veep, yeah. I love her. I love her character.
So you're thinking, oh, I know what she's going to bring to it,
Yeah.
right? And you're not really going as internally. So there's that. And then I like to say that writing a mystery, which I had never done before,
Oh, wow.
was like building a plane in the air.
Okay.
So you're already flying and you're figuring out, oh my God, like how do I like build the control panel for this thing and steer it?
Yeah.
So I would keep writing myself into corners
Okay.
and writing Nora into corners and thinking, how do I get out of this? And then I realized that's exactly what she's facing.
Yeah.
So I tried to use it.
Wow. That's so challenging.
It was very challenging. But I hope it doesn't read as though it was that challenging.
How long did it take you to write the book?
From start to finish, which includes, I don't know if people know this about fiction so much, but there's usually a number of drafts.
Yeah.
Your first draft is just get it out there and try to see what you're talking about. In my case, there were 5 drafts, and it took all in all about a little over 4 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
But I don't think it reads like it took that.
No, I mean, that's the point, right?
The point is you're supposed to make it look like it was always there.
Yeah.
It was a story always waiting to be told.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you've done all that work on it, though. It's like when you have a house, it's like you got the good bones, but you need some remodeling or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, sounds...
That's a great analogy.
Thank you.
You're always remodeling the kitchen and the bathroom.
Yeah. So I'm sure you have something. It's great. It's beautiful. Michelle says, how much darkness should a writer delve into when writing this type of book?
Well, I don't know that there's any single answer to that question. It depends on what you want the tone of your book to be. If you're writing a real dark, violent thriller, that's one thing. This was a little bit of a combo of something that I wanted to speak to the heart and the psychology of a very relatable character, you know, not a psychopath.
Yeah.
So I had to delve into messy and angry emotions, but not psychotic ones.
Nice. That would be hard to do.
People, you know, Silence of the Lambs, for instance,
Yeah.
Thomas Harris, who wrote it, actually lives in the same town as me.
That's so crazy.
The guy in the liquor store knows him and said he had come in to buy a bottle of wine that went with liver.
No.
And that in the movie, that line about Hannibal Lecter like drinking wine and says it's nice with fava beans and liver.
No.
Like
No.
Writers take from everywhere.
I can't. Really?
Yeah. But anyway, Silence of the Lambs, I brought it up because living inside those characters in order to write it might be a difficult place to be.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
It was hard enough to sit down at the writing desk every day and get into Nora's problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's beautiful, though. I love having this conversation because, again, we don't have enough fiction authors on here, and very few of them have.
Have us.
I know. We want to. All right, let's see where we were. All right, Annette says, when writing the book, did you always have a specific character in mind to be the murderer, or did you bounce between multiple characters?
Thanks for asking that question. I always knew the murderer. From the minute I started, it was just about how to get there.
Yeah.
Writing it was about how to get there and not give it away.
Yeah, I feel like we shouldn't keep talking about it because...
I'm not going to give it away.
Read it. But it was always that person.
It was always that person, yes.
Or maybe not even a person. All right, Jeff says, what aspect of psychology should an author read about if he or she is not familiar with the subject as you are? Basically, if they're not familiar with psychology and they want to be an author, what part of psychology should they read?
I think they should read about, I want to say, emotional conflict.
Oh, yeah.
What people, but even villains are not devils in their own story.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are telling themselves that their feelings are legitimate, and the problem comes when their actions, which are illegitimate, when they act out on feelings instead of letting themselves feel them. Mm-hmm. So I think knowing about all of the range of emotions that people have that are acceptable and why people find them unacceptable, bury them, and then start acting in ways that are destructive.
Great.
I don't know if that answers his question really, but people are usually motivated by emotional conflicts.
Mm-hmm. So true. So true. It's amazing. You're just brilliant.
Thank you.
Let's see. Laura Blaze says, you've engaged in so many different types of writing, fiction, nonfiction, screenplays. Which is your favorite?
I think they're all great. They're all difficult. I think I like fiction writing novels because it requires so much of you. You have to be kind of, if you've been to the circus and you've seen those people who are spinning all the plates on the sticks at once.
Yeah.
It's like that. You have to have you're thinking about so many different things.
Wow.
That it's a real stretch and a challenge, and it's very satisfying when you can get them all to land.
Yeah.
Without breaking anything.
I love it. So good. Okay, we have a few more questions and then we have to start wrapping up, unfortunately. But Alicia says, you must have dealt with all sorts of different kinds of editors with the different types of writing. How is that different? So I guess, how are the editors different?
How are the editors different? I love editors. I think they're a writer's best friend. They really help you see what you're so involved in at a close level. It's sometimes hard to step back and get the big picture. But I've loved every editor that I've ever had. And this most recent one, her name was Tiffany Yates Martin. And she was my very close read editor. Liz Pearson's was my acquiring editor for Lake Union. She loved the book in the first place, and she saw what it was, and how it could even be better. And she connected me to Tiffany. And Tiffany was like going to graduate school.
Oh, cool.
She would read the manuscript and just ask these perfect questions in little places that helped me bring the book to the next level.
Awesome. Yeah, a good editor can do that. Okay, so Attracta says, would you have a dream cast for the book if it were to be made into a film?
I just started thinking about that. And do you know the actress Rachel Weisz?
Is she blonde?
No, she's dark-haired. I'm trying to think of the last film she was in.
Okay, so she would be...
She would be my Nora.
Okay.
But a number of other people could be my Nora. If you took it in a much more humorous direction, you could do Tina Fey. But that would be the kind of very humorous version of the movie.
Cool. Okay, and the first one was who again?
Rachel Weisz. She's married to Daniel Craig.
Okay.
They both act.
Okay.
As you know, Daniel
Yeah.
Craig being James Bond and other things. I wish I could remember the most recent film she's in.
I'm
You'd
gonna
recognize
Google
her.
it. Yeah, I know.
in a
I
hot
would. I'm
second.
so bad at names.
Yeah.
But I would recognize her.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, you guys should Google her as well. We can start the petition to get this made into a film and get her as Nora. Okay, so Gioia. I'm terrible at this. I don't know why I do the names.
Well, I just want to say one more thing.
Yes.
If Julia Louis-Dreyfus was 10 years younger,
Yeah.
she could do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She could be good because she can be like humorous and serious.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so
Joya.
Joya, there we go. Thank you. I knew I was missing it. Says that they loved this book and they're thinking about the movie. Tayaba says, what was your writing routine?
My writing routine was at least 4 hours a day,
Whoa, in the morning or at night?
usually starting at 11 a.m.
Okay.
When I could do it, when I wasn't working my day job,
Yeah.
as in being a psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Somehow getting all real life done before 11 a.m., you know, all of the emails you have to do, the dog walking, the cleaners, whatever you have
Yeah.
to do. Usually 11 o'clock
Okay.
to 3 o'clock
Nice.
would be good, and then could do psychotherapy in the later afternoon, etc.
Oh, man, that's a big chunk of time. That's a big one.
Writing takes a long
Yeah.
time and a lot of commitment.
Yeah. How many words were you writing a day?
Some days I would just sit there and write nothing and think about it. It's just setting an intention,
Yeah, yeah.
if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and committing to that space. When I'm kind of about to make a turn in the book
Yeah.
and I'm not sure where to go,
Oh, yeah, that's stressful.
there's a lot of walking.
Mm-hmm.
I will take very long walks with the dog until I figure it out.
Cool. Okay, and then we have one last question and we'll wrap up. How long did it take you to write the whole thing? I think you said about 4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years.
Yeah. Okay, well, do you have any other advice for our aspiring writers out there, aside from pick up the book and read it? Because that's going to be my advice for you guys.
I would love you to pick up the book and read it. And there is a character in the book, Nora's Aunt Lada, who has a lot of Russian sayings.
Ooh.
And one of them, which I will leave you with, which I love, which is in the book, is, "She who takes no risks never gets to drink champagne."
Oh, that's so good. I want that in my room. That's amazing.
Then you take them.
I know. I do. I take big risks.
I know.
That is beautiful, and thank you for leaving us with that. That's so fantastic.
Thank you, Sarah. This was fun.
Come back anytime. We can talk shop anytime.
Okay.
You guys pick up Tips for Living. The link is in the comments. And, you know, Renee, where can they find you? Where can they keep up with you? You have a website.
Yes, I do. I'm on Facebook at Renee Shafransky, author. And I have a website, reneeshafranskyauthor.com.
Perfect. All right, you guys. Thank you. And don't forget to pick up the book.
Thanks.